Congress may have to stop trading stocks. Imagine that. Poor them. A bipartisan group of senators struck a deal that would ban members of Congress, their spouses, and dependent children, as well as the president and vice president, from purchasing and selling stocks while in office. Congress should not be here to make a buck. There is no reason why members of Congress ought to be profiting off of the information that only they get, said Republican Senator Josh Hawley yesterday. Now, this bill was unveiled by Republicans Josh Hawley and Gary Peters and Democratic Senators Jeff Merkley and John Ossoff. Gary Peters, also a Democrat. The proposal comes after years of Congress trying to pass legislation to limit lawmakers' ability to profit from stocks and what could be insider tips.
Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi expressed her opposition to a congressional stock trading ban proposal in 2021. Quote, "We are a free market economy. They shouldn't be able to participate in that, or that should be able to participate in that, rather." Pelosi's husband, Paul Pelosi, has a history of making large and profitable stock trades. A Business Insider investigation from last year found 78 members of Congress in violation of the Stock Act, which requires public disclosure by themselves and family members within 45 days of purchase.
So this is something that I would be very happy to see become law. So would the vast majority of Americans, I presume.
But it never will.
But it never will.
It never will.
It seems so obvious that, yes, that government political figures should not be able to profit from information that they and they alone possess in their role
duties, yeah,
as people who set the rules for financial institutions and for the market. It's not, and Nancy Pelosi is totally wrong there about it. Well, it's a free market, so they should be able. Yes, I am for free markets.
Yep.
I absolutely am a believer in the power of free markets and that people should be allowed to participate in them, but not the literal referees of the market. Like, that's the whole idea of government, which I have a problem with anyway, but is that they set some restrictions on what you're able to do in the market, ostensibly for the good of us all, although, again, I have a lot of questions about that. But then they don't need to be involved in the market. They could just be private citizens and then they can participate in it. But while they're in government, and probably for a while after, they should not be able to use information. Like, they prosecute you. You get in trouble if you have insider information, which is actually a made-up thing in my view anyway. But they're the only ones who can do it. They can do actual insider trading and get away with it.
Yeah, I think nothing weakens institutions and democracy more than a lack of faith in the system, the belief that the game is rigged. And so many Americans watch members of Congress come in, in their 30s or 40s, spend 30 or 40 more years in the job, and come out with tens of millions of dollars. And they're supposed to only be having a salary of, $200,000. That is not just frustrating, but I think at the root of it is how Donald Trump really came to power. It's that belief that the game is rigged, that people can profit off of the institution and the average person can't.
Yeah, it's gotta be limited. This is a kind of common sense reform that if you polled Republicans, Democrats, independents, they would say, yeah, of course we don't think members of Congress should be profiting while in office. And they continuously get caught doing so. There were a couple Republican lawmakers who got caught making massive stock transfers.
There were a bunch during
right
COVID.
Before COVID. Yeah, in the pharmaceutical industry sales. Nancy Pelosi's husband is a big. She represents Silicon Valley, and he's been an investor in major tech companies. She's owned stock in Facebook, despite the need, according to many Democrats, to regulate Facebook, and Trump wants to put Mark Zuckerberg in jail. There's some stuff in here for the national political landscape that's relevant to Facebook, and she was at one point the chief of the lawmakers. It's crazy.
I was talking to Mick Mulvaney yesterday on News Nation, and he raised an interesting point. When he went from Congress into the administration, he was required to take all of his stock and put it into mutual funds and S&Ps. And it seems like that should be the basic thing that anyone who's serving in public office should do. Put it in a public trust, put it in mutual funds. And, this is actually going to be a big issue for Donald Trump and his family should he win the election in November, because they've expanded their portfolio and are building towers in Saudi Arabia now and Albania. There's a conversation with Orbach that's happening today about future plans. How do we get around kind of this idea?
Well, and the Trump children have said they want to play no role. Well, I don't know about Don Jr. and
Yeah, I was
Eric
gonna
and
say.
Lara, but Jared Kushner and Ivanka, who were such main advisors to Trump last time around, said they're not in for another run.
Yeah, I mean, the Kushners walked away with a $2 billion deal with the Saudis after Trump left office. This commingling of business and profits, I think, it's not just problematic now. There's this really big fear, I think, among voters that we're going to get into this oligarchy kind of system where there's just 10 families running everything and kind of passing down small amounts of wealth.
And then on the Biden side, the chief of staff de facto right now to Joe Biden appears to be Hunter Biden.
There was nothing more frustrating to me than when it got released that Hunter Biden was in the Oval Office as Joe Biden prepared to come out and speak about the Supreme Court. Like, as I've said before, I am a supporter of Joe Biden. I would vote for him if he is at the top of the ticket. But the decision making, the thought process of having Hunter, I get he's his son, but he had just been convicted of a federal crime. Like, you are president, and I know that people are going to say you're a father first, but you're not. Like, when you're president of the United States, you're the most powerful person in the world. You have a responsibility to protect everyone in the world, and you just can't do that. Like, that's just common sense.
Yeah, Hunter was recently convicted of gun crimes.
Yeah.
And should play no part in any decision making, and yet here he is. This was supposed to be some contrast between Biden and Trump, that Biden would not be calling on his family members in such an obviously nepotistic and corrupt way. And I get that Hunter Biden is not crafting policy the way Jared Kushner was, but the most important policy right now is whether Joe Biden continues on as president, and that decision is being largely made by his family members.
Yeah, and
nobody else can get through to him.
Exactly, and I think that's really the big problem. You saw Joe Biden's family really kind of leaked to the press how upset they were with the performance that he had, and blamed it on the staff and blamed it on Ron Klain and those people. There's nothing Ron Klain or anyone could have done in that debate prep to make him look better.
Yeah.
I mean, the only people that really could do anything are his family, and they've decided to double down. And now, it appears that the circle's gotten even smaller, and there's no ability to really get in or give any honest information or honest kind of hot takes to the extent where you're now seeing not Joe Biden go to the Democratic Senatorial Committee to talk today, but the campaign.
Back to the stock ban. So you don't think there's any way this would actually pass?
No, there's no world. I mean, if you're a member of Congress and you have the opportunity to profit off of stocks, you're not going to self-regulate yourself. There's no world where that happens. The self-interest?
It would be so politically popular to do it.
It would be.
They can't give up the money.
They got Josh Hawley and John Ossoff to agree on something.
Yeah.
What a world.
Yeah. Oh. All right. We will have more Rising right after this.